We are mere weeks away from Christmas and just days from Hanukkah, but already there are some shiny presents to be unwrapped on the small screen. We have the opening season of Selena, the series, launching on Netflix today, and the American Masters Keith Haring Street Art Boy documentary on PBS tonight. Bryan Cranston is back on cable on Showtime with the morally conflicted Your Honor, and NBC premieres the Canadian drama Nurses on December 7th. So, being a bit diagnostic, which one will be the show that you have to watch this week?
People think nurses are do-gooders, selflessly caring for others. Problem is, how can you not make a mess of your own personal life when the job takes everything you've got?
Like almost every other network, NBC is padding out its COVID-19 hobbled primetime schedule. In this case, with Nurses from the Great White North. Yet, with a few character traits aside, Nurses, which premiered to big viewership north of the border back in January, has little distinctive about it except that it is network space filler, it takes place in Toronto, and none of the patients are going to go bankrupt for the care they received from this rookie crew of young medics. Unintentionally more Scrubs than Grey's Anatomy, and filmed back in the very different world of 2019, this almost entirely maskless Nurses also stumbles from the fact that it is a medical drama without the biggest health crisis of the last 100 years, the coronavirus. And that pretty much spoils any suspension of disbelief, even in the Canadian healthcare system.
My son. I dedicated my whole life to him. That level of love can just crack you open, make you someone you never thought you'd be.
Already previewing online right now, Showtime's Your Honor finds Bryan Cranston as a New Orleans judge who begins to break bad to cover up his son's asthma-induced accidental killing of a crime lord's offspring. Look, Cranston is a borderline national treasure, and there's almost nothing he does that isn't worth watching. However, this Peter Moffat show-run limited series based on an Israeli show is mainly, as they say in Texas, all hat, no cattle. Once the premise is set up, the 10-episode downward spiral of a good man becomes an accelerating exercise in plot twists in place of story. And even with more top-notch talent like Hope Davis and Margot Martindale on board, the verdict is as much misfire as mistrial.
Selena.
If we go out there and give it everything that we've got, we can make this happen, now or never.
If social media is anything to go by, the launch of Selena the series on Netflix today has hit plastered all over it. However, the ostensibly Christian Serratos-led biodrama of the deceased Tejano superstar comes up short in both the bio and drama departments, in no small part because this is a very authorized treatment, with the Walking Dead alum often playing sidekick to the singer's family at the heart of the saga. Perhaps it is the rags to fame and riches legacy of Selena herself, who was killed in 1995 by the former head of her fan club, or perhaps it is the long shadow of the 1997 Selena film with Jennifer Lopez. But even with some great tunes, Selena the series just stays far too often on the surface of what is truly a fascinating American story. And that just hits all the wrong notes. So that leaves us with PBS's American Masters Keith Haring Street Art Boy. And that's the show that you need to watch this week.
He kind of took New York by storm, and he was in all the magazines before he was 25, worldwide.
My philosophy was always been of art really could communicate to larger numbers of people instead of the elitist group of people that could afford it and quote-unquote understand it.
Featuring a soundtrack highlighted with the likes of the B-52s and Devo, and interviews with Fab Five Freddy and Ann Magnuson, to name a few, plus Haring's parents, and the voice of the disarming artist himself from extensive and revealing taped interviews, the fast-paced Street Art Boy documentary that airs tonight on PBS stations as a part of the series' 35th season is a Trojan horse of a sort, of a flashback to whack 1980s NYC and the horrible ravages of the first decade of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. It may feel very paint by numbers at first, but this portrait of Haring's life and art is actually a timely textured canvas from director Ben Anthony that deftly directs cultural influence, appropriation, and exploration as train tagging and graffiti collide into the creation of Haring's trademark childlike figures and his own voice. and the changing perspectives on his art and fame in the decades since his death from AIDS-related causes in 1990 at the age of 31. So welcome back some old-timers this weekend, like Blue Bloods and Shameless and Power Book 2 Ghost. But don't miss Street Art Boy for its throwback and its spotlight on today, because that's the show you have to watch this week.